Hi guys, today we're going to do a knife review of this knife right here. This is a Enlan B L01 pocket knife. Now before I get into the review itself, I'm just going to run through the basic specs of this knife. It is a liner lock folding knife, and as you can see here, it's a plain edge blade, no serrations, and a tanto cutting edge right there. I like to call this more of sort of a modified tanto edge because as you can see, the spine right here, it slopes down more like a spear point or a drop point. Yet the cutting edge right here, you can see it's quite evidently a tanto point. So I'm going to call this a modified tanto point. Some people are already calling it that, so let's just roll with it. Another thing about this knife, it has a thumb disc instead of a thumb stud. Now, if you've never used a thumb disc, it's fine. It's not much different from the regular thumb stud, and it's actually pretty common to the Emerson line of folding knives. Now, let's take a look at the blade. It is a 8CR13 MOV steel. It's a Chinese steel, but it's one of the higher quality Chinese steels. It is a bit soft, and in my testing of this knife, I'll talk more about that. Let's take a look at the handle. It is a standard G10 handle. Now if you like, this handle comes in wood and micarta, and it definitely looks more exciting, but this is more of a basic model. The micarta and wood, I do believe it's a bit more expensive. This is more of a basic model. Now let's take a look at the weight. The weight is about 117 grams or 4.1 ounces, sorry. And the close length is 118 millimeters or 4.25 inches. The blade itself is 3.5 inches, but the cutting edge is 3.25 inches. So those are the basic specs of the knife, and yeah. Alright, now that we've went through some of the basic specifications of the knife, I'm going to tell you some observations I've had while carrying this knife around for a couple weeks or months. Can't remember, it's been a long time. Now, straight off, this knife, how many features does it have? None. It has literally no features. Is that a bad thing? Not really. It's a very basic, simple to use pocket knife. And maybe you have a friend who has no clue about knives. You know, you want to get them started. It's a pretty good option. It's cheap, it's simple to use. And yeah, this knife, it's not one of those things where, oh, it's had a glass breaker, strap cutter, fancy lockup system. No, it's just basic. Pull it out of your pocket, deploy it, do what you have to do, and it's done. It's a basic pocket knife. And I really like that about this knife. Another thing you can tell about this knife, or not really tell, but I'm going to tell you about that, is the liners of this knife. Now, this knife is, as I've said, 4.1 ounces. Now, that may be a bit heavy for you, but I'm going to say why it's so heavy. It's because you might not be able to see it, but the liners connecting the handle and the blade, they're not skeletonized. That means there's no pieces cut out from it, and that makes it heavier. Now if they had drilled out some holes, it wouldn't really affect the structure or the weight. It wouldn't affect the structure of it. It'd still be pretty strong, but it would change the weight drastically, and it would be so much lighter. It'd be much better to keep in your pocket, but it isn't skeletonized. So that's one thing maybe Enlan would like to do if they're nice, maybe skeletonize it. But for the price point, you really can't complain, and it's not that much of a big deal either. 4.1 ounces. For me, it's still pretty decent EDC weight. It's not too heavy at all. One more thing, this blade, the spine here, compared to a lot of other pocket knives that I've had, the spine is, and the lockup here, it's actually pretty firm and solid. It's a pretty thick blade and a pretty thick liner. There's no wiggle, no play at all. So it's a really firm lockup, and I really like it. It's, yeah, pretty solid. But there is a downside to this. Since it is a solid lockup, you can't open it quickly, like maybe a Benchmade Griptilian, flip the axis lock and the blade just flies out. You can't do it with this knife. It's all manual in the thumb. You can, however, loosen this nut here, put your thumb behind the thumb ramp, and just, well, that kind of failed, but you get the idea. You have to loosen this nut right here before you can do that. But fast opening, it's not really a necessity for me. I'm not gonna pull this out and fight someone with it, so definitely not a it's not a big problem for me. I don't intend to use this knife to hurt anyone, so I don't see the use of a fast opening blade. What else can I say about this knife? It's very ergonomic, this handle. A lot of knives, especially the cheap Chinese made knives, the handles, they don't really finish it that well, and it really bites into your hand if you choke up on it. But this G10 handle, I'm very impressed with it. It's well rounded at the sides, very basic, and the thumb, and the forefinger cut out. It's very simple, very basic design, and because of that, since they didn't play around with the grip and just made it well, it's very comfortable, and it works. It just works. Nice in the hand. You can flip this around if need be. I'm not going to, because I'm not going to attack anyone. But maybe you're in law enforcement, maybe you're in the military, if you need be. I hope you don't, but if you need to, you can do it. It's very comfortable in your hand. And let's see. The biggest thing, the biggest flaw on this pocket knife. It's been a pretty good pocket knife until this comes into the picture. Literally comes into the, you get it? Slides into the frame. Never mind. But the pocket knife, well, it's supposed to go in your pocket. What keeps it in your pocket? It's the pocket clip. And I have to say, this knife is impressive. The pocket clip is a big downside. And as you can see, it hasn't failed. It hasn't dropped off the knife. I just took it off. Why did I take it off? It's quite simply because it's a very cheap pocket knife. Pocket clip, sorry about that. It's very thin, you can bend it, you can just completely break it. And if you keep it on here, you choke up on that handle, it's going to be pretty uncomfortable. It just spoils the ergonomics. And in your pocket, it holds it in your pocket very well, but it's not very solid. It's very cheaply made. It feels cheap. It wiggles around too. You can ball it back on, but it wiggles quite a bit. So because of that, I've taken it off. And also, it's non-repositionable. It can only be here. You can't flip it around. It's not ambidextrous. It only has one place to secure the knife to. And that, I know a lot of knife lovers, that turns them off from a knife. That really repels them from getting the knife. So if one of those people who, really obsesses about the pocket clip, this might not be a knife for you, but if not, this is a really, really good knife to consider, especially for the price point. Alright, now we're going to take a look at some testing footage before I give you my last impressions of the knife and my rating of it. Alright, this is the cardboard test. See how it goes. I'll show you. See this. Just go straight down. Alright, that was pretty good. Let's try from here. And it's nice, very smooth cutting, very sharp knife. Even though I've been EDCing this for quite a few days, still cuts pretty good. Not as good as before, obviously. I haven't sharpened this yet, but still really nice and sharp edge. Okay, that was dumb. Alright, now it's time for the paper test. In my opinion, it's one of the easiest, simplest, and best ways to test the edge of a knife. So, see this. Okay. Bit of tearing there. But, still, get some very smooth cuts on this. And keep in mind, I've been carrying this knife for a long time, and I have not sharpened this at all. It's got a lot of abuse from me. Pretty battered edge. But still, even though a few rough edges here and there, like that, can still cut relatively smooth. Alright. Alright, now it's time for the hair test. This is one of the ultimate ways to test a razor edge on a knife. Literally razor hair shaving sharp. Now when I got this knife, it was really good. It popped off hairs really easily. One swipe, whole bunch of hairs just shaved off. But this is 8CR13 MOV steel. It's, gotta be honest, it's pretty soft steel. It's not gonna hold an edge as well as the other higher end ones like 154 cm or S30V. It's pretty soft in comparison. But when I got this, it was razor sharp. It could shave hairs right off. I've been using this knife for a long time. Have not sharpened it yet. Let's see if it can still shave some hairs. Alright. So, no, it can't shave hairs, sadly. It could when I got it. Brand new, it would shave hairs like a beast. But after lots of abuse, lots of use, 8CR13 MOV steel, it will lose an edge. The edge will roll over, it will dull, and you have to take care of it. You have to sharpen it, get it back to shaving sharp, which I have not done because I'm trying to test the factory edge. See how long it can hold up. It's still very sharp, just not shaving sharp anymore. It was way sharper when I got it. So, holds an edge well, not too great, but still relatively very, very sharp knife. Quite happy with that, especially for the price. Alright, the final test I want to show you is wood. Now, I understand a lot of you guys maybe living in the city, you might not be using this for wood, but let's just say you get stuck in the wilderness somewhere. This probably isn't the best tool to be left in the wilderness with, but if it's all you got, hey, better than nothing. So we're just going to try some basic whittling, nothing too serious. I think, you know what, let's do some feathering. And right there, that is a feathered twig, as well as an ant running up the twig. Okay, so feathering twigs, not a big problem, pretty good. But let's just say you want to do something bigger. Let's say, how about batoning a branch, a big branch. Now, it's not recommended. I definitely do not recommend you do that with a pocket knife because obviously, there's a weak spot right here. It's not a fixed blade, and it can spoil the blade, spoil the lockup. It could close on your fingers. That's very dangerous. But if you do need to, and I actually tried this with a very small branch, you can baton with it because of the thick spine. You can. It's not recommended, but in a pinch, it can. I don't recommend it for big branches or any branches. I do not recommend, like, seriously, don't baton with a pocket knife. I can't stress this enough. It will spoil your pocket knife and hurt your fingers. So yeah, let's get this out of the way, and I'll share some last impressions with you. Alright, now I'm gonna tell you my last impressions of this knife. Now, as I've said before, it's a very simple knife. No frills, no features, just a good, simple pocket knife. But one thing I love about this knife is the blade. The unique modified tensile edge right there. It gives us the strength of a drop point blade, but the cutting ability of a tensile blade. And I really like that. Because of that, as you can see, there's some staining at the tip of the blade, pretty scratched. That's because I've been using this a lot, especially for like boxes, all that sort of stuff. And it's a joy to use this knife. Very smooth opening. It's not fast, as I said, but it's very smooth. And the best part about this knife is obviously its price. Now, I bought this at 25 Sing dollars. Almost forgot. 25 Sing dollars. And online, it averages around 15 US dollars. So, if you live in the US, I can't really tell you where to buy it because I have no clue. But you can find it online, averaging around 15 US. If you do live in Singapore and you're interested in buying this knife, what you can do is you can head down to Funan and pick up this knife for $25. I'll leave a link in the description below if you are interested. Now for the rating of this knife. I'd rate this a 7 out of 10 simply because it's simple, it's basic, it's a joy to use, it's good enough basically, it's just good enough. But I took away 3 stars because of the steel. It's not the best steel they could use, and the pocket clip. It really is a pretty disappointing pocket clip. But if you take those out of the equation, it's a pretty good knife, and I like it a lot. I've been carrying it around a lot. So thanks for watching this review. If you want more reviews, please like and share this video and get me some popularity. Oops. And subscribe, and the videos will come straight to your feed. Also, if you want to let me know something, please feel free to comment down below and I will read it and I will try to respond to you, I guess. So yeah, thanks for watching and have a great day.